I just couldn't accept that. So I talked to Donovan, his son, sometime later. He said, well, Dad didn't tell you this. This isn't the real reason. He said, Mom didn't want to move to California. So that's why he didn't go out there. And incidentally, the Hoosier Hotshots book told me bought a lot of real estate out there, and they all became multimillionaires. So anyway, this is how we met Tom Owens, and they played from 1937 to 1949. And I think Bub got burned out because he did all the arranging. He would work up all the programs on the radio. They played on the radio every day. And I think he just got burned out. And so he sold his half interest in the band and moved to Leland. I think what happened is Bub got restless after he regained his energy and health and thought he'd organize a 6-piece dance band here in Leland. And the 6 original members, of course, was Bub and his son Donovan, and Jack Kaiser, who was from Sheridan. I lost track of him, but I just found out this afternoon that he still lives in Sheridan, but he's not in very good health. I think he's one of the remaining members of the original group. So it was Bub, Donovan, Jack Kaiser, and yours truly, and Dave Brewer. Dave Brewer was from Sheridan, and Dave played the accordion. And so Bub took on 3 teenagers, if you can imagine that, to organize a band. Donovan, B, and Dave. Dave was only 16 years old. He could read like a demon. He was a very talented guy. He is still alive. He lives in New Zealand now. So that was the original 6. Then what we did, we rehearsed once a week for about a year to learn Bub's eclectic musical library. And I mean, it was eclectic for me anyway, and the others too, I'm sure. We had to learn big band tunes, pop tunes, country tunes, polkas, schottisches, redowas. I never even heard of schottisches or redowas. And but he said, well, we've got to learn to play that because we'll be playing up in northeast Iowa and southern Wisconsin, and they like to do those dances. So it was a real eye-opener for me. So anyway, we rehearsed once a week, and getting down toward it, after a year of rehearsals, he was pretty sanguine one day, and he said, boys, he said, you sound pretty good today. He said, I think I'm going to get you union cards, and we're going on the road. And the first job we played was March 3rd, 1951, at the Community Hall in Sheridan. So we didn't go very far. But it was, and he kind of stayed locally for a while till we worked out the kinks. And one fond memory I had of playing down at the Community Hall in Sheridan, that building is still there, was Bub's father and a fella, and I think his name was Mr. Thompson. They would come up when we do a square dance call. They sit in chairs, 2 chairs. Bub would do the calling of the square dance, and the drummer and Ray Boss and I would back him up. And Bub's father and this Mr. Thompson, they would sit in the chair and they'd hold the fiddle down here and do all those old-time fiddle tunes like Ragtime Annie and Soldier's Joy. And sometime later, some years later actually, I asked Bub, I said, Bub, can you do the phrasing on those old square dance tunes like your dad? He said, no, Ernie. He says, I can't. He said, Dad wanted to teach me. And I said, oh, gee, that's old-fashioned, Dad. I don't want to play like that. There's a typical generation gap, you know. But he said, I regretted that. Dad wanted to show me and I didn't want to learn. That's a memory I have of that. So we played a lot of smaller venues at that time. mostly in eastern Iowa, because BUB was known there, southern Wisconsin, and around here. And we were gradually getting more proficient, and we were what I would call a tight band. That's a musical parlance, a tight band. And but in the early years, we played a lot of shows, and none of us had any talent. I mean, we barely could get along on our instruments in those days. And BUB was the whole show. He would play the washboard. In fact, his washboard is right over there. And I remember that so well. He'd have a little patter that would go with playing the washboard. And he'd say, well, now you folks have heard the sweetest music this side of heaven by Guy Lombardo. Now you're going to hear what's on the other side. That was one of his lines. And then he had a pint of whiskey on a piece of twine. And he would hit it with a drumstick. He said, that's Beethoven's Fifth. He had others, but those two stuck in my mind. And we played a show in Leland at the gym in 1955. And it was sponsored by Baker's Feeds, Orrin Baker, and Leland Tanks, and Cleanway System. I remember BUB, of course, again, had to do a lot of the entertainment because we didn't have any talent. And I remember once he was in the back room of the Leland gym, and he had a plank with glasses on it. And he filled them up with various levels of water. And then he'd get a lemon and squeeze the juice out and rub it on the ends of his fingers. And then he went out and that was to get friction on the top of the glasses, and he tuned the glasses. And he played Among My Souvenirs in Harmony. I never forgot that. I thought that was so beautiful. It made such an impression on me, I learned that song, Among My Souvenirs. And then he would do comedy skits that he would write with the drummer. The drummer at that time was Dick Moran. He was quite a character. And they worked very well together, and they were very entertaining. So in the early years, BUB really had to carry us. But we were getting more proficient now, and we were getting somewhat of a reputation around. And then we started playing in larger ballrooms. We played at the Coliseum in Davenport, Turner's Hall, Davenport, the Black Hawk Hotel. We played up at Moonlight Gardens in Dubuque, Iowa. We played at, it was in Boyd, Wisconsin. I can't remember the ballroom, the name of the ballroom, but Waverly Ballroom. Thanks, Fred. And I'm sure you played there many times with us. And then we played the Blue Moon Ballroom in Elgin. And we always drew very good crowds. So we got to play larger venues, but we had to travel a lot farther then too. But we also played a variety of jobs. Some of them that came to my mind thinking about this was, I remember we played for the Colonel Baker. He was he owned the world-class racing horse Greyhound, and they had all the blue bloods in the racing field, and at this party, and it was up at Lily Lake, north on 47, and the horse was in the padded stall. I remember it was a huge horse. I thought that was kind of unusual. We played for them, and we played lots of parades, and we played on a river boat for General Motors executives on the Illinois River. Played a lot of street dances, played the Sandwich Fair, and we also did a lot of live radio work. And BUB was a past master at radio. He had done a lot of radio work, and he would organize all the programs. And when we played in the Leland gym back in '55, we were on 3 stations, and I think Ottawa and DeKalb, WLBK and DeKalb, and one other station. We played on so we did a lot of radio work. And we did play some TV work. BUB had 2 13-week contracts with a television station in Peoria. The first one I didn't play with. I had a commitment at that time. I couldn't make it. But I did make the second one. And that was quite an experience. I remember BUB told me, he said, now I want you to play it. It was on a Sunday, and then afternoon, and then in the evening we would play a dance at McNabb. And I remember BUB said, now Ernie, I want you to play a solo every week, and I'll tell you how much time you have to play it. And I remember there was a tune called Poor People of Paris. It was a hot tune at the time, and I learned it, and he said, now you've got 2 minutes and 10 seconds to play it. And I couldn't play it in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And I mentioned this to Donovan, and he said, well, just play it faster. That's what I had to do. And I remember they told me, because they were experienced now, they'd had 13 weeks on TV. So they were coaching me. They said, now when you play your first solo, and I remember what the first solo was, it was a tune that I knew very well, and I didn't want to take any chances with a new tune, with Wildwood Flowers, kind of the Tennessee state national anthem, I guess you call it. And I thought, well, I can get through that. But the fella said, no, whatever you do, Ernie, don't look at the monitor. Because if you look at the monitor, you're gonna get all fouled up. You lose your concentration. I was at the monitor and I got fouled up. But I would work up solos, but I'd always have my sis Vera in the crowd here listen to it, because she had a much better ear than I did. And every once in a while she'd find a clinker and straighten me out, which I was always thankful for. She had more musical talent than I did. On the dances, our opening tune was always, How Are You Going to Keep Me Down on the Farm? Do you remember that tune? Yes. And on radio, we did a Western tune. Now, the trio did it with BUB and Donovan and Ray Moss. And it was an up-tempo tune. And I don't sing. Well, I'll qualify that. I used to sing in the church choir until I found out what the problem was. But anyway, it went something like, hear my song as I ride along.